to another week of Radiant Kids TV. I'm back at the church, but I'm not where we normally film. I'm actually in the sanctuary, and they recently painted it all behind me. Doesn't it look so nice? So I thought I would film from in here this week so that you can see that. So we've got some great stuff for you this week. The kids are back with a couple of songs. We've got Dr. Dave with Experiments with a Purpose, and I am so excited to start the Gospel Project with you this week. So stay tuned, because here we go.
Hi, Radiant Kids. Stand up, it's time to sing. Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous fall. Psalm 55, verse 22.
Psalm 55, 22.
Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will sustain you. Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will sustain you. And He will never let the righteous fall. Let the righteous fall. No, He will never let the righteous fall. Let the righteous fall. No. Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will sustain you. I said, cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous fall. Let the righteous fall. No, He will never let the righteous fall. Let the righteous fall. No.
Psalm 55, 22.
Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will sustain you. I said, cast your cares on the Lord, He will sustain you. He will sustain you. King never let the rise on the Lord. Let the righteous stand. No, said King never let the rise on the Lord. Let the righteous stand. No, King never let
Hello there, Radiant Kids. Welcome to another Experiments with a Purpose. I'm Dr. Dave, and you might have a pretty good picture of the kind of experiment we're going to do. But to give you a little bit more to go on, I'm going to read from Matthew 13. This passage is called the parable of the sower. The sower is like a farmer. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea. Such great crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat there. And he told them many things in parables, saying, "Listen, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell in the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they did not have much soil, and they sprang up quickly, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seed fell on good soil and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Let anyone with ears listen." So, as I was reading that parable, you're probably like some of Jesus' followers, wondering, what is this all about? What does all this about soil have to do with my salvation or my spiritual life? And we're going to do an experiment to see if we can show what Jesus was talking about there. And so Jesus talked about 4 different kinds of soil. So the first one he talked about was the path. And for this kind of soil, I found some soil that was really hard. Kind of like, you know, people keep walking on the path over and over again. You know how it gets hard, and it's hard to imagine seeds really doing well in that. The second kind of soil Jesus talked about was rocky ground. And here you can see some rocks in here. And so we're going to try planting seeds in that, seeing what happens. The third kind of soil he talked about was soil that was full of thorns or weeds. And I found some weeds in my garden. Believe it or not, even though I'm Dr. Dave and I study weeds, we've got weeds in our garden. And here we have the weedy soil. And the fourth kind of soil was the good soil. And here we have some beautiful good soil. So I have 2 kinds of seeds. I have scallions here, it's kind of onion, and I have lettuce. And we're going to put seeds of scallion in the first ones here and lettuce in the other ones. So I'm going to take some scallion seeds and put it in there. Hello, Radiant Kids. We're back again after quite a few weeks. We've let this experiment go, and I'm going to show you the results. So this first one is the soil, the hard soil from the path. And you can see the plants didn't really do so well there. This is the lettuce we're looking at here. And then this is the rocky soil. You can see there's a small plant here, but it's doing okay. Maybe not as good as it could. And then this one is the one where the seed was sowed with weeds. And you can see the weeds are doing well, but the plant's not doing so well. And then finally you have the good soil, where we have some nice baby lettuce plants, and if we let them grow longer, they could grow into much bigger lettuce plants. So what's all this about? Well, if you were paying attention when Mrs. Rihanna told the story of the parable of the sower just a little while ago, you would know the soil is about the human heart. And this is how Jesus explained the parable after he talked to his disciples about it. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart. This is what was sown on the path. So if this really was sown on the path, probably birds would come along and take the seeds so they wouldn't have a chance to grow. And the soil's not very good on the path either. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet such a person has no root, but endures only for a while, and when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, that person immediately falls away. So like this little seedling, it's starting to grow now, but it can't really have very good roots because of all the rocks here. Just like us, when we hear God speaking to us through his word, we might not let it really take root if our soil is full of rocks. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth choke the word, and it yields nothing. And here we have this lettuce plant. You can hardly see it here because it's been choked by the weed. And actually, as Dr. Dave, I am a weed biologist, so I study what happens with these weeds. But as for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit, and yields in one case 100-fold, in another 60, in another 30. So we are supposed to be like the good soil. And if your heart is ready to receive God's word, you can grow into a huge plant, much bigger than this. This just had a short growing season so far, but eventually this could become a big lettuce plant that we could enjoy. Just like you can become a wonderful expression of God's word in your life. So thanks for listening and watching this experiment unfold, and see you next time. Bye.
Before he came to earth as a human being, God the Son was with the Father. No one created him. He has always existed. God created the first people.
Ooh.
Adam and Eve. But they did not obey him. All along, God planned to send his Son to earth to save people from sin. At just the right time, Jesus came to earth as a baby. He was born to Mary, the wife of Joseph. Jesus is different than any other baby who was ever born because he is fully God and fully human. Like all people on earth, Jesus' family had a history, a family tree. Jesus had parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents, back and back for many generations. Jesus was born into the family of Abraham and the family of King David. Abraham had a son named Isaac. When Isaac had a family, one of his sons was named Jacob. Jacob was part of Jesus' family. Years later, a man named Solomon was born into Jesus' family tree. He married Rahab, who hid the Israelite spies when they came to Jericho. Rahab had a baby named Boaz. Boaz was a farmer, and he married Ruth. Boaz and Ruth had a son named Obed. Obed's son was Jesse. Jesse had many sons. His youngest was David. David was just a boy when he was chosen to be Israel's king. King David liked to write. He wrote songs called Psalms, and some of them were about the time when Jesus would come to earth. Other people in Jesus' family were kings too. David's son Solomon was a king. King Jehoshaphat was part of Jesus' family, and so was Uzziah, Ahaz, Hezekiah, and Josiah. God's people returned home from exile in Babylon. Then Shealtiel was born. His son was Zerubbabel. Later, Matthan came along. Matthan's son was named Jacob, and Jacob's son was named Joseph. Joseph is the man who married Jesus' mother, Mary. Joseph raised Jesus as his own son. Jesus was truly God's son, the Messiah. Jesus came to earth as a human. Jesus had earthly parents, Mary and Joseph, but his true father is God. Through Jesus, God kept his promises to Abraham and David. Jesus saves people from their sins and adopts them into God's family.
Isn't that so amazing to see how all the way from Adam, Jesus' family can be traced back, and it's all part of God's story. So this week, I have a couple more things to show you. One is our big idea for the week, our big picture question. Is Jesus God or a human? And the answer is, as the Son of God, Jesus is both fully God and fully human. He's the only person ever that is both fully God and fully man. Now, I have a memory verse for you guys this week, and I would love to hear you tell it to me. John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So this is your challenge for the week. I want you to memorize this verse and send me a video of you saying it. Now, if you are young and that is too many words for you, then you get to do this one. The Word was God. You get to learn that part, okay? So remember, send your things in to me, kids@mtnview.org by Thursday around lunchtime so that we can all watch them together next week, okay? Thanks so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to Radiant Kids TV this week. Before you go, let's take a quick look at the things that you sent me. Remember, the challenge this week was to tell me about your favorite book. So here we go, let's look together. Thanks again for tuning in. We will see you next time on Radiant Kids TV. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.